Michael Sipple, a former Rochester police officer convicted of assaulting a city man during an arrest, will not serve any time in the Monroe County Jail, but instead was sentenced to 3 years of probation. City Court Judge Thomas Rainbow Morse on Monday sentenced Michael Sipple for the assault of Christopher Pate. Morse convicted Sipple of third-degree assault, a misdemeanor. Sipple punched Christopher Pate in the face during a May 2018 arrest. Sipple and his partner had wrongly identified Pate as a burglary suspect. Pate suffered a facial fracture. Sipple contended that Pate initiated a physical confrontation and resisted arrest. The judge also spoke about the impact of post-traumatic stress and how it clouded the actions of both Mr. Pate and Officer Sipple on the day of their confrontation. Sipple had received both a Bronze Star and Purple Heart during his service in the U.S. Army before serving as a police officer in New York City. Sipple was fired from the police department after the conviction. He also faces a civil suit from Pate. Morse issued an order of protection barring Sipple from having any contact with Pate outside of the ongoing civil proceedings. William Demby Jr. William Demby Jr. was found guilty of stabbing Holly, 33, to death and pushing her out of a window at their home in August 2011. The former corrections officer had been found guilty earlier this month of murder, felonious assault, and domestic violence after killing Holly at their Grafton Township home. The couple had argued on August 11th, and Demby had chased his wife upstairs with a combat knife. As she was trying to escape out the window, he stabbed her and let her fall. The father of four then ran outside and continued to stab his wife in and around the neck, before calling police and calmly telling them he had nearly beheaded his wife. As the 45-year-old was sentenced, one of Holly's relatives had to be restrained and removed from the courtroom after screaming at Demby. Eric DeFalco, a former Kansas City police officer convicted in the killing in 2019 of a black man who was backing a pickup truck into his garage, was sentenced to 6 years in prison and will remain free on bond while his conviction is appealed. The fatal shooting happened on December 3, 2019, when DeFalco and his partner responded to a traffic incident involving a red pickup truck in Kansas City. A police helicopter had observed a red pickup truck driving and entering a driveway at the back of a home. The officers, dressed in plain clothes and wearing police department vests, arrived at the home and entered the backyard without a legal warrant and with their guns drawn. DeFalco fired 4 times at Lamb, claiming he saw Lamb's left hand reach for a gun and pointed at his partner. Lamb was right-handed, and medical records later showed that he did not have full use of his left hand due to an injury before the shooting. Eric DeFalco was sentenced to 3 years for the involuntary manslaughter of Cameron Lamb and 6 years for armed criminal actions. Judge James Dale Youngs found DeFalco guilty in a bench trial, ordered that the sentences be served concurrently. Lori Bay, Lamb's mother, called the sentence a fair decision. Danielle Holtzclaw. Holtzclaw was accused of sexually assaulting 12 women and a 17-year-old girl between December 2013 and June 2014 while working as a police officer and sometimes while on duty. The jury concluded that he was guilty after all the court testimonies were over. The accused man couldn't help crying his eyes out like a baby while the judge read his sentence. He was crying uncontrollably. The court marshals had to support him to stand over on the bench while the judge read his sentencing. The man had been accused of raping some women who had testified and identified him as a serial rapist. Brandon Boone. A former Winter Haven police officer appeared in a Bartow courtroom as a defendant. Brandon Boone is charged with battery after an incident in a Polk County jail. Security video from inside the jail shows Boone striking a handcuffed inmate with his knee before taking him into a darkened room. The inmate, Ronald Augustine, claims Boone and other officers beat him and broke his leg. Boone strongly denies he did anything wrong. At a status hearing on the case, Boone's attorney advised the judge he has been unable to reach an agreeable resolution to the case with state attorneys. State attorneys advised the judge there will be a large number of witnesses and he has not had a chance to interview them all. A trial date in the case has not been set. Michael Dotro. Former Edison police officer Michael Dotro scratched his neck and forehead but expressed no remorse before being sentenced to 20 years in state prison for setting fire to the home of a superior officer while the police captain and his family were inside asleep. He offered no apology to the family of Captain Mark Anderko, who had to flee the burning house, no remorse for the witness he tampered with, and no remorse for the other officers who lost their jobs because of their involvement with him. Dotro, who must serve 17 years before he becomes eligible for parole, said nothing in the courtroom during the nearly hour-long sentencing before Superior Court Judge Pedro Jimenez Jr. as Middlesex County Prosecutor Andrew Carey, Edison Police Chief Thomas Bryan, and Anderko and his wife looked on. The sentence, negotiated under a plea agreement with Assistant Prosecutor Russell Curley, relates to crimes Dotro committed over a period of 5 years. The Middlesex County Prosecutor said Michael Dotro has now been sentenced for serious crimes, crimes that legitimate police officers find absolutely repugnant, and his office has looked at other police officers and worked to clean up that shop. The Middlesex County Prosecutor noted that others have been removed for their connection to Dotro's offenses and 3 others were removed for other inappropriate acts. Dotro received 20 years for attempted murder, a first-degree crime, and 10 years for aggravated arson for setting the May 23, 2013 fire at Anderko's home. The prison terms will run concurrently. Dotro also was sentenced to 10 years for official misconduct, 5 years for conspiracy to tamper with a witness, and 18 months for conspiracy to retaliate. He will serve 5 years of parole supervision once released. Jimenez also ordered Dotro to have no contact with the Anderko family and another victim. After Dotro entered the courtroom, his wife, Alicia, yelled out, "You're a monster. You're a manipulative monster," before being told by a sheriff's officer she would have to remain quiet or risk being removed. After the sentencing, Alicia Dotro said people don't know what's been going on behind closed doors for the past 3 years, adding that she has been manipulated by a man who was not the person she once knew.